There's been quite a lot of attention paid to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Those are all Republican governors, big states, who are being aggressive about reopening those states. But at the opposite end of that spectrum is Ohio Republican Governor Mike DeWine. DeWine is 73 years old. He's spent nearly 40 years in public office. He has been perhaps the most aggressive governor in the nation in terms of getting ahead of the virus. For example, back on March 3rd, when Ohio had not even a single confirmed case of the virus, he banned fans from attending an Arnold Schwarzenegger multi-sport festival. 9 days later, he shut down public schools, becoming the first governor in the entire nation to do so. And by acting early, it appears, again, cause and effect is difficult to tease out here, but it appears that Ohio avoided a worst-case scenario. In a state that Donald Trump won in 2016 by 8 points, Governor Mike DeWine right now has an 80% approval rating. There's something to be gleaned here from the Ohio experience. Joining me now to talk more about this, as well as what's going on in Washington, someone who has worked with and against Governor Mike DeWine for many years, Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio, who beat DeWine for his Senate seat back in 2006. Senator, it's great to have you on. I remember when I first profiled you back for that race, I remember you telling me you thought Mike DeWine was a good guy. You didn't think he was particularly like a bad presence in public life. You're running against him. What are the lessons here about how Ohio has gone after this?
Well, the lesson, first of all, is maturity and experience and character matter in an elected official. I mean, you contrast Governor DeWine. This isn't a partisan statement. You contrast Governor DeWine, who acted early and saved lives in my state, with the president, who had no experience and his character is questionable, and who called it a hoax for weeks and blamed Democrats, another impeachment effort, whatever he was saying, while DeWine was acting. President Trump cost American lives, clearly. So that's the contrast between the two. And Governor DeWine listened to Dr. Amy Acton, his public health director, his director of public health, I think is the term, the cabinet level. And Dr. Acton has been really good and right on what she needed to do. And the governor had the good sense, as an experienced public official, to listen to the experts.
I also think it's interesting just from a political standpoint of your state, which I think a lot of people have viewed as a state that has sort of moved to the right, that has trended red, that, that increasingly is not a swing state. That it's just striking to me that as people talk about this debate as if it's very polarized, that your state, DeWine, has an 80% approval rating for being pretty cautious about this. And it doesn't seem like it's been a huge sort of like culture war fight in your state, despite the fact there have been some protests.
I think that's right. I think there is concern, though, now that Ohio, now that the economy, the governor has taken away the stay-at-home order and the economy's moving towards it, is now opening. I've spoken to the governor about this. We talk regularly. I talked to Dr. Acton. I called her today. We talk pretty regularly. My insistence is that workers are protected as we open this economy. The next big outbreaks, we know what happened in South Dakota, the slaughterhouse, and the president says, open up. No concern for workers, no concern for public health, and no concern for food safety. But I'm just concerned that we've got to protect workers first as we open up this economy. We've got to scale up testing. The president's shown no leadership on either getting protections for workers nor in scaling up testing. We likely will pay a price for that through the whole country. We already have, clearly, and more deaths. You hear the numbers, 5% of the world's population, close to 30% of the world's deaths. And you contrast it with countries that did it right, Korea, Taiwan, that their economies are in pretty good shape and the number of deaths is so much smaller.
You had an exchange with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, I believe, in a hearing yesterday on precisely this question about two things. I think you were talking about both worker protection and hazard pay for frontline workers, both of which have been things you've championed, are present in the Democratic bill that passed the House. I want to play that clip and have you explain a bit about what you were getting at. Take a listen.
So how many workers should give their lives to increase our GDP by 0.5%?
that you're pushing people back into the workplace. There's been no national program to provide worker safety. The president says reopen slaughterhouses, nothing about slowing the line down, nothing about getting protective equipment. How many workers should give their lives to increase the GDP or the Dow Jones by 1,000 points?
Workers should give their lives to do that, Mr. Senator, and I think your characterization is unfair. We have provided enormous amounts of equipment. We've worked with the governors. We've done a terrific job of getting...
Mr. Secretary, I'm not going to let you make a political speech about what a great job. We hear that from the president at his news conferences.
What do you want to see happen concretely for workers as we reopen?
Well, I think about you're a worker who's been laid off. You're getting unemployment now, so you're not going to get evicted. Your kids are going to be fairly well provided for. Not great. You've taken an income hit, but you're home, and you're drawing unemployment benefits at least for 4 more months. Then you're called back to work, and you're not sure your employer has made your workplace safe. So you're going to give up your unemployment insurance. You're going to go back to work. You have no choice, and you're just not sure it's safe. I was talking to a grocery store worker in Cincinnati who said, they say I'm essential, but they don't pay me well. They don't protect me at work. I feel like I'm expendable. And that's what workers are facing. If for one time, if this administration has betrayed workers time and time again, as you know, Chris, if one time they would wear the shoes, walk in the shoes of a worker who's facing this terrible problem on sick days or on going back to work, not sure the workplace is safe because they know that we have a president who wants people to go back to work at all costs, even in slaughterhouses where hundreds of people get sick, where the line moves too fast, where the employers have shown no history of worker safety except what the government makes them do. And the president wants to weaken those standards and put them all back into the maelstrom of a dangerous workplace. And that's just morally reprehensible. The Treasury Secretary sat in that committee. He's on the same page as this president. He's the president's top economic guy, the Secretary of the Treasury, and he has to defend a bankrupt policy, and he knows he wasn't telling the truth.
Senator Sherrod Brown, Senator of a great state of Ohio, thank you for making some time tonight.
Thank you, Chris.